Hi, Gunnar. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with me today. My name is Lucy. I'm a writer for The Nocturnal, and I kind of wanted to dive into your latest tour with Maroon 5, which is so exciting. And I know that you recently released your new album, which just came out back in February. So first of all, I wanted to kind of congratulate you on your summer tour. Obviously, you guys traveled to so many different iconic cities and venues. I know I saw Barcelona was one of them, and London and Paris. And I wanted to know, how was the experience of performing across Europe and, sharing your new album and, interacting with audiences alongside such an iconic band?
Yeah, well, thank you for the intro. That was, now I'm feeling like I've done something over the last few months. Wow. The tour was incredible. I feel like Maroon 5 and Adam himself are just such incredible, people and musicians, and they're professionals, they're pros. They've been doing this for, 22 years. And for them to invite me and my band out on the road and share that experience with us was honestly life-changing for me. I feel like I grew a lot and I learned a lot, and more than anything, just got to meet people and use that tour as a vehicle to connect with new fans and meet new people and see new faces. And now I got to get back over there and go say hello again and do some of our own shows.
Absolutely. Yeah. You went to so many different iconic cities. I guess kind of being that every, city is so different and distinct from one another. Do you have any specific favorite crowds or favorite shows in certain cities that stood out to you?
Absolutely. Probably one of my favorite shows was Amsterdam. It was incredible. An amazing city. We had the best time. The crowd was amazing. It was our third show, so we kind of got the wiggles out on the first two, and the nerves, and by that third show we were pretty settled in and feeling really good. And so that crowd was awesome. The city was awesome. I'll remember that show forever. And honestly, every show was perfect, but that show and London and Birmingham, I almost would say Birmingham as one of the best shows, because it was our last show of the Maroon 5 run. And I feel like we as a band and myself as a performer and as a person and human being, I just let it go, and I just got to let loose and have fun. And it just transferred really well. The crowd felt it. I felt it. The band felt it. There was just it felt like a celebration. Some shows are you feel like you're putting your bag on and you're ready to go work. And that show specifically was just the most gratifying and self-releasing show that we've done.
Yeah, what a better way to celebrate your music and also your album that came out in February as well. Amsterdam is such an amazing city. It's so beautiful with all of the canals and everything like that. So I love that.
So cool.
So kind of speaking a little bit more about the audiences, I know that you talked about the people that you met. And obviously you've gained such a strong online social media presence and following, which can definitely play a large role when it comes to your audiences for live shows. I wanted to know, you kind of dove into this a little bit, but how was it for you to see the impact of that your music has on people, fans, and witness their responses firsthand?
That's a great question, because being an opener, especially, you never really know how things are going to react and how people are going to feel about the music. Maroon 5 is, when they do their show, they're a pretty badass kind of rock show, but their music is far more pop leaning. And so with this new album being a little bit more rock heavy and rock influenced, I was not nervous, but I was curious to see how their fans were going to react. And the fact that the music that I created and that I was confident in, finally, for the first time in my career, translated in a room like that, in front of 25,000 people. It was eye-opening to see what songs connected with the people the most, and what songs had the most attitude, which ones maybe didn't feel the best. There's no better way to test the music and the connection of the music than seeing it live and seeing how people react to it in the room. And so Like I said, when you have songs that come from your heart and come from a personal place that you can go perform in front of that many people and connect with them about. I mean, I've never experienced that before. Like that was an absolute first time for me because there's been we've done shows over the last year, shows after the album came out. Um, but it was where I felt like I was trying to kind of prove who I was and prove this music and what it meant to me. And this last tour with them was a complete release of that. And it was just me going and enjoying and living in the art that I had created. And I don't know, the connection between the crowd and us was, it was like nothing I've ever felt. And it makes me feel good as a songwriter and the performer. And it was amazing.
Yeah, like what a better way to celebrate your music and also like your album that came out in February as well. Amsterdam is such an amazing city. It's so beautiful with all of the canals and everything like that. So I love that.
So cool.
So kind of speaking a little bit more about like the audiences, I know that you talked about like the people that you met. And obviously you've gained such a strong online like social media presence and following, which can definitely play like a large role when it comes to your audiences for live shows. I wanted to know, you kind of dove into this a little bit, but how was it for you to see like the impact of, that your music has on people, fans, and witness their responses firsthand?
That's a great question because being an opener, especially, like you never really know how things are going to react and how people are going to feel about the music. Maroon 5 is, when they do their show, they're a pretty badass kind of rock show, but their music is far more pop leaning. And so with this new album being a little bit more rock heavy and rock influenced, I was not nervous, but I was curious to see how their fans were going to react. And you know the fact that the music that I created and that I was confident in, finally, like for the first time in my career, translated in a room like that, in front of 25,000 people. It was, I mean, it was eye opening to see what songs connected with the people the most, and what songs had the most attitude, which ones maybe didn't feel the best. Like there's no better way to test the music and the connection of the music than seeing it live and seeing how people react to it in the room. And so, like I said, when you have songs that come from your heart and come from a personal place that you can go perform in front of that many people and connect with them about. I mean, I've never experienced that before. Like that was an absolute first time for me because there's been we've done shows over the last year, shows after the album came out. um but it was where I felt like I was trying to kind of prove who I was and prove this music and what it meant to me. And this last tour with them was a complete release of that. And it was just me going and enjoying and living in the art that I had created. And I don't know, the connection between the crowd and us was, it was like nothing I've ever felt. And it makes me feel good as a songwriter and the performer. And it was amazing.
Like it's so hard to cater your music to a certain audience because their audiences are definitely in different, every city they're different.
Yeah.
Sounds like such an amazing experience of being able to connect as a songwriter with so many arenas of people. And being an opening act, I'm imagining that you obviously have to shorten and limit your sets for each show. So I kind of wanted to know like what went into creating the perfect set list to both showcase your talent and music for crowds, but also fit the vibe of like a Maroon 5 show.
Great question. Honestly, picking the songs was a really hard thing for me because we played 5 songs, and our songs, when we do them live, get extended and kind of they sound different than the record, because I think that's what a show should be. You should get something more than you could get just online. And so with that being said, a huge discussion for us was a cover. Like, we're an opening band that most people in here don't know us before walking into the room. What's the song that we can sing together as if the crowd knows, so the crowd can sing along. And it was a really kind of tough decision, but I ended up, me and the band and I ended up deciding that instead of trying to do that for me and for, like for what doing a cover does, right? I wanted to show all 30 minutes of who we were as a band and who I was as a songwriter and performer. And we incorporated a few parts of the sets that had like sing along moments and easy stuff to kind of sing and repeat, and hand waving and whatnot to have an engaged crowd and like something that people could physically do. But it was an important decision for us to decide that we were going to actually leave a cover out, um, of that set. And if it was in the US, I probably would have done a cover. But in Europe, talking to other artists and people who I trust and look up to, like I know that in Europe, people really gravitate towards this kind of music more than maybe in the States or anywhere else. And um, I just wanted to give them a show of who Gunnar is. I didn't want to try and do a cover to bridge a gap or what. I just said I want to go out there. I want to put on the best performance we can. I want to hit them with the songs that are the most powerful and energetic and fun. But I want them to see who Gunnar is. I don't want them to only remember a cover moment because that's what they could sing along to. Like I want them to see the show and maybe not know the words to all the songs, but see what we do and be enticed to come see us again after learning the songs.
Because it's such a difficult decision to like cut out a cover. Because I know whenever I've gone to shows, a lot of artists who open up will typically have like a cover that they do to pull in the crowd. But I feel like that's such a great decision to have, especially because your overall music will be pulling in the crowd, not just, that one cover that people remember from the night, which is very smart.
Yeah, it's gutsy. I mean, it's like people don't know the music, right? So you want to have something for them to like sing with, but I don't. I'm confident in the music that we made and the show that we were going to put on, and I was like, let's just go do what we do. Let's show people what they'd get if they came to a Gunnar show.
Because it's such a difficult decision to like cut out a cover. Because I know whenever I've gone to shows, a lot of artists who open up will typically have like a cover that they do to pull in the crowd. But I feel like that's such a great decision to have, especially because your overall music will be pulling in the crowd, not just, that one cover that people remember from the night, which is very smart.
Yeah, it's gutsy. I mean, it's like people don't know the music, right? So you want to have something for them to like sing with, but I don't. I'm confident in the music that we made and the show that we were going to put on, and I was like, let's just go do what we do. Let's show people what they'd get if they came to a Gunnar show.
Right. Yeah, and they can hold on to those memories in the music, which is so cool as well. And kind of, on the same note of touring, I wanted to know, as you opened up for Maroon 5, have you received any advice from the guys, or pick up any knowledge from sharing the stage with such a legendary band?
Absolutely. Those guys are full of wisdom and experience. Like I said, they're pros. I mean, they've been doing this, and there's a lot of current us in like younger them. So it's funny to talk to them and kind of, we're telling them our stories of driving in the van and, almost getting arrested and doing, having a good time and, being up all night and driving all day. And like, as much as it sometimes it's like it's tough, going with eight people in a van across Europe is tough. Like it's fun, but it is tough, and it hurts your back, and it's long road trips with hours of not eating, and but what their best advice was like, those are the memories that they're still the most fond of, being who they are today. It's like when you get to the point that they're at, everything is, I mean, it's basically perfect. Like they have earned everything that they get to do on tour, and it gets to be an easy process for them. And as great as that is, I also, we got insight that they love and not necessarily miss, but their most fond memories are looking back at kind of the shit that we're going through now, and the times of paying our dues and putting the 10,000 hours in. And um, it's just a cool way to kind of check yourself when you're struggling out there and it's hard. Like it's like the quote, the about climbing a mountain, right? You get to the top and you realize that the best part was the actual climb. And so, being able to be told that by whether it's James Valentine or Adam himself or like any guy in the band it's just like it's a quick check, check yourself in the mirror and realize that what you're doing now, these are the memories that you're going to remember when you get to this level.
But you guys kind of mirror each other in that way of like the younger and like also like, such an iconic band who has, really earned their spot in the industry, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And kind of, moving on to a little bit more about your music, because your debut album, Best Mistake, was released earlier in February. I feel like once music is released into the world and put out in the world, in a way, songs can kind of take on a life of their own in a way. Once
Yeah.
it's released and, fans make it their own. I wanted to know, how have fan interpretations and appreciations of your songs changed your view of your music?
I mean, I was born in 2001, so I kind of grew up with um, like today's pop music. I've got two younger sisters who we would go to school every day listening to like Radio Disney or 102.7 Kiss FM. And so when I started music, I mean, I've always done music, but when I really started, you know, when I moved to LA and was really starting to, put music out and promote, and et cetera, I was, there was this vision around me that was like pop. We're going to go for a song that can get on the radio. And so that's what I grew up listening to, and I loved it. And I did that, and I really enjoyed it. But when COVID hit, I realized that when you take the live show away and all you have left is the music, I wasn't connecting with it when I was looking back. And when I was looking at myself in the mirror, I wasn't seeing what was deep inside of me. And so I made a really scary choice to kind of depart from that and make music that just made me feel things and that I wanted to make, and that had emotion and depth. And so I went through like a year and a half worth of just diving into music that I didn't really grow up listening to, classic rock and, Lenny Kravitz and Arctic Monkeys. And, I really kind of leaned into rock music because it was making me feel something that I hadn't felt before. And then when it came to making the album, that was a huge influence for me. And then I think when you take that and mix it with kind of the background of where I came from, it ended in this like pop rock area that I wasn't really trying to. Like, it was the first time I wasn't thinking about trying to make a certain like kind of music. I was just making music that felt like me. And so that influence of kind of more rock and alternative mixed with like my background and subconscious of pop, and doing that for so long and hearing that for so long, like I'm a sucker for a great chorus, like there's no doubt. And so the album kind of landed in this like middle ground of rock, pop, like has alternative to it, but is still an arena ready, set.
I kind of wanted to, talk a little bit more about like your fan base. And I feel like obviously from this tour, you were able to grow so many, audiences and attract more fans. Have there been any specific fan interactions that have left a strong impression on you, whether that be, due to enthusiasm or, stories that they've shared with you?
Was fortunate enough after every night, after our set and then Maroon 5 show, I'd go out to the main merch stand and go meet fans and sign t-shirts and CDs. And it was just like every show the crowd grew, and to the point where like the last four shows we would get in arguments and fights with security because they were kicking us out. And I was like, just no, I want to, like, this is my moment to meet people and connect with people, to get them to come to the next show and like really meet and connect with new people. And so that was really cool because over the last 3 years, like everything was really digital because people weren't seeing each other. Concerts were down with COVID, and this was the first like real proper large tour that I've done since the first tour I ever did. And so like I had those feelings again of like overwhelming love and support from strangers that are now becoming a part of my family and a part of the community that they and I have built. And doing that every night was really fun and something I'll remember forever. There's been a few, like every show I'd go through every message after every show, and just to hear that, like, I'd never heard of you before I walked in here tonight, and you blew me away, and I love this song, and I've been listening to it now all night long. Like is the best thing I could hear, because I knew going into that tour that a lot of people weren't going to know who I was. You know, Adams kind of took me under his wing and believed in me, and gave me this opportunity. And so the fact that we could get up there and do what we do and connect with people to the point where then, it's one thing to love the show, but then Maroon 5 goes on and then forget. And, but to have people at the end of the night or the next day or a week later or even now a month later, still messaging saying like, this is my favorite song. I played this song more this month than every other song, like that. It's so fun and it means so much to me. And it makes me feel like I'm doing something uh, and making a difference in a way.
And I guess kind of my last question to wrap up the interview is, throughout your career, what are a few milestones you'd love to achieve, whether that be tours or albums, awards, or venues that you want to determine?
I mean, obviously my goal is to win a Grammy. I think that would be like the I made it moment for me. But equally, or if not more important, is just shows. Like I want to be able to do shows for fans that are showing up for me. And at this point in my career, right, like we put an album out, we're making more music, we're gonna put more music out. It's kind of like opening tours or how you get out there and get in front of new people, and I love it. But I've only done one solo tour, and it was it was a small club tour. And so I just want to get to a point where I can get back out on the road and go play for fans that are there for me. And it doesn't matter how many, it's just that to me is magical. And I've never really experienced a show where everyone in the crowd knows every word and is singing it back to me like they are for Maroon 5, or for whoever. So that's kind of my goal for the next however long, is just play as many shows as I can until I can play shows by myself. And that will be a huge milestone for me. And I think when I can get to that point, that, the next steps from there will be far easier than where I've been getting to where I'm getting now.
Making connections with so many people and like growing your fan base as well. It all ties together. But yeah, thank you so much. That kind of wraps all of my questions up. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today. And it was so nice meeting you as well.
So nice meeting you. Thank you for wanting to do this and for having me on. And thank you to everyone who's watching this. And if you don't know me, I hope now you will go check it out. And if you do, and you watch this whole thing, thank you. And I appreciate you. And I will see you very soon. Lucy, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you. Good luck with everything.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.